You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 10th day of November, 2025. Thanks for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first live broadcast, that is our live training room. So to get in there, you got to be a member or taking your 1-week free trial. If you have not yet taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael joins us in about an hour, he'll walk you through step by step how to take the trial. It'll take you about 3 minutes. He'll get your indicators up and indicating today. Your trial will officially start tomorrow morning, and it'll run all the way through next Monday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern. There's no credit card required. Now, you're not just getting access to the live training room. That's just 2 hours out of the day. Here at CFRN, we work around the clock for you. So you also get access to what we do the other 22 hours of the day. In other words, we treat you like you were already a member for 5 consecutive trading days without a credit card, because we want you to be able to have a clear head and make a well-informed, intelligent decision at the end of your trial as to whether or not trading is right for you. So stick around at the top of the hour when Michael joins us, and he'll walk you through it. Okay? Now, when the live training room ends each day at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we take a 30-minute break, and then we come back for this broadcast, the noon broadcast, which is open to the public. That's everybody everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's 2 different ways to join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, because you only got to do it once, go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down the page to where it says Noon Broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What will happen going forward is every trading day, you'll get an email about an hour before this broadcast starts. In that email, there's a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, you just click the link in the email, and it automatically logs you into our platform. Of course, there'll be days you're out of the office, away from your desktop, but you still want to join live. And some days you'll be busy, so you can't join live, but you want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. But all you have to remember is youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, as we're doing right now, simulcasting, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there are over 2,900 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. youtube.com/CFRN. On the left side of the screen, you'll see our schedule for each afternoon broadcast. So we're going to dive into our daily devotional. That's where we start each and every day. Now, the topic that we're on, it's the longest topic we've ever had for a devotional. 28 days. I think we're in day 11 or 12. Sharing your faith. Now, some of you are thinking, man, I've been a Christian since I was 9 years old. Why should I need to learn how to share my faith? Well, I'm going to ask you a question. When's the last time you shared your faith? I don't mean you were at church and you were talking with your friends about the things of God. I'm talking about when's the last time you shared your faith with someone outside the church. Maybe in the workplace, maybe at school, maybe at your local HOA meeting. Follow me? It's a whole different world, right? Now, maybe you're feeling bad because you can't remember the last time you shared your faith. Well, that's the whole purpose of this devotional and why it covers so many days, 28 days, because sharing your faith has eternal consequences. Not for you, but for the people you run into who don't know Jesus. Our scripture today is 1 Corinthians 15, verses 3 through 4. I'm going to share it with you from the NIV translation. For what I received, I passed on to you as of first importance, that Christ died for our sins, according to the Scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the third day, according to the Scriptures. Again, that was 1 Corinthians 15, verses 3 through 4. And we're on day 13. And 13 days in, our topic today is first importance. What is the most important topic of conversation? Paul would say it's gospel. The gospel's essence may be summarized as simply the message of who Jesus is, what he has done, and why. He is the Christ, the one sent to rescue us. He died on the cross to save us from our sins and rose from the dead, demonstrating that he is the Lord. That is the essence of the gospel. While the gospel is so simple a child can understand it, it is so profound that a scholar will never finish exploring it. Nor will you ever finish experiencing it. You do not graduate from the gospel to move on to deeper truths in the Christian life. Rather, you dig deeper into it. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John wrote whole books sharing gospel truth. Paul wrote letters such as Romans and Galatians, unpacking the implications of the gospel. The whole Bible is centered on the gospel. Make it a lifelong quest to master the gospel, learning to communicate its essence and experiencing its fullness. The gospel is life's most important field of study. I want to encourage you today to memorize a scripture, Romans 6:23. Write that down, Romans 6:23. And you will be able to communicate the gospel using a one-verse gospel. One more time, Romans 6:23. I'm not going to read it to you. I want you to look it up. Let's pray. Lord Jesus, thank you for the gospel, that you died for our sins, were buried, and rose again on the third day. Because of your victory, we have forgiveness, hope, and a new life. Help us never lose sight of this truth and to live each day in gratitude for your grace and power. It's in your holy name we believe and pray. And everybody said, Amen. Amen, and happy Monday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. I'm going to start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Then we'll go to the news, and then we'll get to the charts. And of course, all the alerts. Okay, starting with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. The Dow is up 106 points. The NASDAQ is up 367, over 1.5%. S&P 500 is up 62, almost 1%. And the Russell 2000, our man in the street, is up 17 points. Now, we've got an unusual situation on our hands, but I'll show you that when we get to the chart. In the commodity basket, crude oil is down 16 cents, trading $59.59 last. Gold is up $93, trading $4,102.80 last. That's a gain of well over 2.25%. Silver up $1.86, trading $50 last. That's a gain of almost 4%. Now let me remind you, when the price of silver moves $1, that's worth $5,000 per contract traded. And silver is up today $1.86. That's pretty close to 10 grand per contract traded. That is, of course, if you got in at the open last night and you held the position. And so in the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei gained 635 points, 1.25%. Shanghai rose 21. The Hang Seng gained 407. That's over 1.5%. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 104. That's over 1%. The DAX up 406, 1.75%. The CAC up 105, well over 1.25%. Now, if you were tuned in Friday, it was red in Asia, red in the UK, and red here at home. But today, it's a day of a different color. It was a green day for Asia. It was a green day for the UK. And it's a big green radio Monday here in the US of A. What a difference a day makes. But don't get hoodwinked by this move. I'll explain more when we get to the charts. First, we'll turn to the global news. The world's largest global climate meeting, the 30th conference of the parties, it's called COP30, begins today in Belém, Brazil, where they mowed down, what was it, 1,000 or 10,000 acres of trees, so all the big shots could fly in their private jets for the climate change meeting. I mean, you can't make that stuff up. Pretty much, now that Bill Gates has gone public and said, maybe I was wrong about the climate change thing. Now, Al Gore, he hasn't fessed up yet. But if you've tuned into this broadcast since 2005, we said it was a scam all along. And Well, looks like the world's figuring it out. COP30 comes 10 years after 195 countries adopted the U.S.-led Paris Agreement, in which each country committed to taking steps to reduce global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Since then, countries have largely failed to meet their commitments, and emissions have continued to rise, albeit a little less quickly. If warming continues at its current pace, researchers project global temperatures will rise 2.5 to 2.9 degrees Celsius by the end of the century, down from the up to 3.8 degrees that was predicted a decade ago. The UN expects global warming to cross the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold by 2035. You'll remember that President Trump pulled us out of the Paris deal in both of his terms. Biden, of course, put us back in. Now Trump took us back out, citing the economic burden, including billions of dollars in donations to developing countries. We've thrown trillions of dollars at a problem that they never even existed. Now they're worrying about an ice age, which isn't new because before there was global warming, there was the fear that we were going to have another ice age. Strike up the band, the Rockefeller Christmas tree arrived in New York City Saturday, kicking off a tourist season that will see an estimated 750,000 people visit daily, more than 125 million people each year. Yeah, it may be slim this year because there's a new mayor in town, you might have heard. The tradition dates back to 1931 when a construction worker at what would become Rockefeller Plaza pooled resources to buy a 20-foot balsam fir tree. Since then, the tradition has involved larger trees, typically a Norway spruce lit with more than 50,000 LED lights and topped with a 900-pound Swarovski crystal star. This year's tree is 75 feet tall, weighs 11 tons. It's a Norway spruce from East Greenbush, New York, donated by a woman in honor of her late husband. The tree will be lit from December 3rd to mid-January, after which the wood will be donated to Habitat for Humanity. And a new gene editing drug could effectively cure high cholesterol in certain patients via a one-time shot, according to results from a small clinical trial revealed Saturday. The treatment lowered bad cholesterol and triglycerides by about half, with no apparent side effects after 2 months. Cholesterol is a waxy substance that comes in two forms: low and high density lipoprotein. Your doctor calls it LDL and HDL, one good, one bad. While triglycerides are energy stored as fat in the bloodstream. About 25% of cholesterol comes from diet, while the rest is produced by the liver and intestines. LDL cholesterol tends to adhere to blood vessel walls, causing plaque buildup and increasing the risk of heart disease. The new drug turns off a specific gene, ANGPTL3, responsible for producing LDL and triglycerides. Around 1 in 300 people have a mutation that disables the gene, offering natural protection against heart disease, which is the leading cause of death in the U.S. I'm going to guess fentanyl probably comes in second place. I think I mentioned this on Friday. A friend of ours, since we were young, fact, she was at our wedding. In fact, they rented an apartment from us. Her daughter OD'd on fentanyl. I believe it was Thursday night. If you know any young people in your life, or any people, because not just young people, ordinary, normal people, maybe they don't even drink, they don't smoke, but they get injured at work, they hurt their back or something. So the doctors put them on these powerful opioid painkillers, and when the patient is quote unquote better, they just turn off the medication. Well, what about the monkey I got on my back now? So then people turn to the streets, and the little blue pills that the doctor was giving you, you can buy what looks exactly like those little blue pills with the M on one side and the 30 on the other. But it's not the same thing. It's fentanyl. And you never know whether the cooks, see, the precursor chemicals come out of China. They go to the jungles of Mexico where they have laboratories set up out in the jungle. And this is these folks' day job. They mix the chemicals and press them into the little pills. So why do some people die and other people don't? Well, because maybe the pill you just took, when the cook was pressing that, he had to sneeze, and maybe 5 times as much of one of the chemicals went into your pill. They say on average, 1 out of every 100 pills can have a lethal dose. Now, if you've built up a high tolerance, you may survive. Or if you have Narcan, you can survive. It's gotten to the point where everyone should keep Narcan in their home and in their car. If somebody has an opiate problem and they OD and their lips start to turn blue, you squirt this stuff up their nose and bam, you saved their life. And it's not very expensive. In fact, you can get it free, I think, in some places. It's called Narcan. It used to come in a can. Now it's in a spray bottle. Okay. So turning from global news to the Wall Street news, what do we got? Tech stocks have led the market higher at the opening bell after the Senate took a big step toward ending the record-breaking government shutdown that has clouded the picture of the economy. But this could be short-lived. Markets have turned upbeat amid optimism that the 39-day U.S. shutdown is soon coming to an end. After a weekend of deal-making in Washington, a new bill was released late Sunday and quickly advanced in a key Senate procedural vote after enough Democrats joined with Republicans to avoid a filibuster. The Senate could now vote later today to offer final approval of the package, as House Speaker Mike Johnson said he thinks he has the votes to pass it in his chamber, and told his colleagues today, you need to begin right now returning to the Hill. Unfortunately, it may take them a while to get there because of all the flight delays, which are because of the shutdown. Now, from another article, a new path on Capitol Hill to end the government shutdown could quickly reverse some of the economic pain from the 40-day stoppage, but the cutoff of government data could take longer to equalize. You know, there have been a lot of reports, economic reports, that we typically get that we didn't get. So, and these are the reports that the Fed uses to determine whether or not to lower rates. Well, that's how it used to be. Now, well, don't get me started. At least some of the information most closely watched by markets appears likely to be lost forever. What? While some older data on where the labor market stood in September could be available once federal workers are back on the job. Most in focus this week is inflation data, as a schedule posted long ago by the Bureau of Labor Statistics still lists the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, report to come out November 13th. That's my anniversary. Oh, I got to get busy on Amazon. At 8:30 a.m. Eastern. That won't happen even if lawmakers reopen the government quickly, as the White House previously stated that the October CPI data may never be known. There will likely not be an inflation release next month for the first time in history, according to a White House account that posted this on October 24th, saying it was because surveyors cannot deploy to the field, depriving us of critical data. September's inflation data was released during the shutdown and came in lower than expected. Okay, so it's a good number, and they don't want you to know about it. Okay, well, we're at your mercy, Congress. From Reuters, Coinbase Global, which trades under the symbol COIN, C-O-I-N, and their stock is up almost 3% today, said it will launch a new platform that will allow individual investors to buy digital tokens before they are listed on the cryptocurrency exchange, sending its shares up almost 4% earlier today. Growing interest from retail and institutional investors has boosted trading in digital assets, resulting in established players in the sector looking to expand their services to tap the multi-trillion-dollar market. Coinbase will host about one token sale a month on its new platform, using an algorithm to determine how tokens are allocated to investors. Investors will be able to submit purchase requests during a one-week window. Token issuers coming to market today struggle to get their tokens into the hands of real users while building deep exchange liquidity. Coinbase is changing that, the crypto exchange said in a blog post. The platform launch will mark the first broad opportunity since 2018 for U.S. users to take part in public token sales. Initial coin offerings were a popular fundraising method during the 2017 crypto boom, allowing companies to sell new tokens to investors, but the trend slowed after regulators raised concern about investor protection and disclosure. Coinbase is planning to add features to the token sales platform in the coming months, including limit orders and higher allocations for issuers' target user bases. Investor purchases of tokens will be paid in USD coin. That's a stable coin pegged to the US dollar, issued by Circle Internet Group, CRCL, according to the Wall Street Journal. Blockchain startup Monad will be the first project to offer its token through the platform next week. You might want to remember that one, Monad, M-O-N-A-D. Reported that its creative ecosystem added over $55 billion to the U.S. GDP, created more than 490,000 full-time jobs. However, many YouTubers have reduced their reliance on ad revenue and brand deals. There are several reasons for this shift. First, ad revenue can be unpredictable. With YouTube continually updating its policies, some creators find it challenging to secure ads for their videos, which can negatively impact their earnings. They've also realized that income from these streams can vanish unexpectedly. Recognizing the volatility of platform-dependent revenue, many YouTubers are no longer just creators. They're vertically integrated media companies with parallel businesses, including product lines, brick-and-mortar venues, and consumer brands that can outlast algorithm changes and policy shifts. In some cases, these side businesses are growing faster and more sustainably than their YouTube channels. Jimmy Donaldson, known as Mr. Beast, has 442 million YouTube subscribers. He isn't just one of YouTube's biggest stars, he's its most aggressive entrepreneur. What started with a merchandise store in 2018, Shop Mr. Beast, has exploded into a business portfolio, including its now 3-year-old snack brand, Feastables. Feastables' initial product was the Mr. Beast bar, a chocolate bar that generated over $10 million in sales within the first 72 hours, selling over 1 million bars at the launch. As of today, Feastables is more profitable than his YouTube content and even his Beast Games competition series on Prime Video. In 2024, Feastables generated roughly $250 million in revenue and over $20 million in profit, while his media business lost approximately $80 million. Don't forget about iHeartRadio, IHRT. They're working on a deal with Netflix to get their video podcasts on Netflix stream. It's currently still trading under $5. Most brokers in general cannot recommend a stock to their clients until it breaks the $5 level. And iHeart's trading around $4.50 right now, $4.60. If this deal goes through, this thing could skyrocket. But do your own due diligence, talk to a licensed investment professional, etc. President Trump told air traffic controllers who missed work during the government shutdown to return to their post, threatening to withhold pay for those who do not show up, as travelers in the U.S. face flight delays and cancellations. Now, I don't know much about Venmo. I know what it is, I just don't use it. But today, Venmo introduced a new rewards program, Venmo Stash, offering cash back to customers who transact with their favorite brands on the payments app and engage with Venmo's products. While cashback rewards are a common incentive for credit cards, Venmo's rewards, which can be up to 5%, are returned to Venmo's MasterCard debit card. The program is designed to incentivize continued use of Venmo's service by bringing more funds into the ecosystem. Okay. Turning from Wall Street to Capitol Hill, Zohran Mamdani is already revealing his true agenda of dividing New Yorkers into two groups, the oppressed and their oppressors, according to a Saturday editorial at the Washington Post. The newly elected New York City mayor's victory speech last Tuesday made it clear that his view of politics isn't about unity or increasing wealth, but rather about handing wealth out to favored groups. The article describes Mamdani's new favorite word as being mandate, because he will need approval from the state to raise taxes in order to achieve his... Remember what he promised everybody? Free child care, free bus rides, rent freezes, etc. His transition team includes several New York political insiders who understand how to pull the levers of power, as well as diehard ideologues such as Alina Khan, the former FTC Commission chair. Additionally, the Washington Post highlighted that Mamdani has done nothing to suggest he will back school children over union bosses when there's a conflict of interest. Oh, and he also wants to continue the mutilation of young children who are confused about their gender. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent roasted George Stephanopoulos over the shutdown, citing the host's own book when he joined ABC News this week, yesterday morning. When Stephanopoulos asked Bessent if ending the filibuster is the best way to end the government shutdown, Bessent said, "No. No, you were involved in a lot of these government shutdowns in the 90s, and you basically call the Republicans terrorists," Bessent said. "And you said it is not the responsible party that keeps the government closed." Stephanopoulos countered Bessent, saying he disagrees with the history there. "I got all your quotes right here," Bessent replied. "I read your book, so you got one purchase on Amazon this week. That's very much exactly what you said." Bessent said the solution to ending the government shutdown is for 5 brave moderate Democrat senators to cross the aisle. Right now it's 52-3. 5 Democrats can cross the aisle and reopen the government. That's the best way to do it. So, George Stephanopoulos got roasted on his own show. Federal Appeals Court late yesterday rejected the Trump administration's bid to halt an order requiring full supplemental nutritional assistance program payments, SNAP, during the government shutdown. The 3-judge panel on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit ruled a judge did not abuse his discretion in finding the government's plan for partial food stamp payments would cause unacceptable delays. It also knew full well that making partial payments would be technically difficult, as it had never been done before. But it proceeded to do nothing to attempt to solve that problem over the following 3 weeks. It made no calculations, prepared no tables, and took no other logistical steps to prepare for the shortfall. It keeps in place U.S. District Court John McConnell's requirement that officials fill the remaining gap for November SNAP payments by transferring roughly $4 billion in child nutrition funds, which the Trump administration argued would unacceptably put those programs at risk. Payments, however, remain on a temporary hold under a Friday night ruling from Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. But the appeals court decision begins a 48-hour clock for Jackson's hold to expire. Wouldn't that be something? And last for news, I saved this to the end, because I know you could care less. From Keeping Up with the Kardashians to her acting debut in Hulu's legal show All's Fair, to beauty and clothing lines, reality star Kim Kardashian has done it all. Her ambitious nature has led her on a pursuit of following in her father's footsteps, intending to become a lawyer. But one obstacle has gotten in her way: the bar exam. In case you don't know, Kim Kardashian's father was one of OJ's attorneys. You know OJ, right? Okay. Kardashian, 45, has chronicled her law school journey for years on her reality show and on social media. She's now opening up about failing the bar exam. Though she didn't pass, she said she was using this as fuel and jokingly said she plays a very well-dressed lawyer on TV. Her father's name was Robert Kardashian Sr., who defended OJ, and I guess did a good job. She can take the exam again. Not every attorney Gets it on the first time out. All right, let's move to the local news. Logic 247. And somebody said, what's a Logic 247? Logic 247 is our 24/7 around-the-clock E-mini alert service. Not just E-minis though. It's also crude, gold, and silver. Last week we ended up with 13% stopped out. This week, week 380. Over the last 380 weeks, we have issued over 20,900 individual handcrafted alerts. And we've averaged on a weekly basis 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Now, every logic alert has an entry price, long or short, an initial target, and then additional targets, and then a final trade to target. If you never ever trade a Logic 247 alert, that's okay. Make sure you use them to learn how to read the chart. That's what they're intended for. The fact that you can trade them, that's just a bonus. They come out way ahead of the actual trigger. So when a logic alert comes out, you don't have to fall over your feet getting to your desk. There's plenty of time. Because I want you to study the alert, study the chart, draw horizontal lines. Pretty soon, you'll be reading the charts like an old pro. If you're going to trade for a living, you got to learn to read the charts. And you might say, well, I know how to read. Yeah, but a chart has no words, no sentences, no paragraphs, and no punctuation. Since the markets opened last night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we issued a total of 18 alerts. When Valerie did the recap this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, we were still waiting on the outcome of 9. So that gave us 9 actionable alerts, of which 1 or 11% would have been stopped out. Again, based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. So last week, I don't think this changed Friday afternoon when Valerie updated. We did 65 alerts last week. We still had 21 that never triggered. 44 actionable alerts, 6 stop outs, 14%. Seems like I remember seeing it drop to 13%. 13%, 14%, whatever. Out of that many alerts, I'm okay with that. So it's early in the week. Now, some of these may have resolved themselves already. When Valerie updates the recap this afternoon, as she does each day, we'll see where we're at. Okay. All right. Now, 380 weeks, that's a long time, right? Over 7 years. But years before we had Logic 247, we had our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts. They're different in a lot of different ways. But for the purpose of this discussion, they don't come out around the clock. They're published as a static report shortly before the Globex open each evening. What that means is the Monday session began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. 5 minutes before the markets opened, all of our traders and trial members had all of these targets. The S&P, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. Now, Sunday night, sometimes we get big gap opens, up or down. And so when I published last night, I said, if there are any markets where there's a huge gap, I will reissue the CTA for that particular market. And there was only one affected, the NQ. Originally, the long target was 25,322, but we gap opened right to the target. You'll see it in the chart in a minute. So I changed it to 25,433, which you'll see we have hit as we go to the charts. Now, when you see these targets drawn out on the charts, just remember, all of our traders had them 5 minutes before the market opened, with the exception of the NQ, 20 minutes after the open. Okay? All right. So now we can go to the charts. We'll start where we always do with the S&P 500, E-mini futures, the bellwether. Now, this is really interesting. Remember on Friday, we had a candle that opened and closed below the BBC. Here, let's step back in time for just a minute. On on March 4th. Actually, we have one here. On March 3rd, we had a candle open and close below the green line. It's called the BBC. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. Call it the BBC. Stands for bull bear cross. When price crosses below the green line, we're bearish and expect lower prices. Like that. When price crosses above the green line, and then we have a candle open and close above the BBC, then we go from bear mode to bull mode, big picture. Now, as I said, price always reverts to the mean. So when price pulls back to the BBC, that's a reversion to the mean. And whether it pulls up from below or pulls down from above, the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. Like that, and that, and that, and that. And that, and that. Every single pullback has held. We even had this crazy 6-day pullback right here. See, every one of those candles is still touching the green line. So the pullback's holding, 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 and then went on to put in new all-time historic highs. This is the all-time historic closing high right here, 69.27.5. The all-time historic intraday high is 69.53.75. So Friday we had a candle that opened and closed below the BBC. So we would expect to see falling prices, but look what happened. We're back above the BBC, but we got red and falling overhead, which is bearish. Okay, so we were in bull mode all these months, and then we went to bear mode for a day, right? Well, we didn't even know we were in bear mode until the close on Friday. See, it's not touching the green line. So to go back to bull mode, here's what needs to happen. We need to have a candle open and close above the green line. I think we're going to run into trouble here. So this is in all the years that we've been doing this, we've not been confronted with a situation like this. This is very unique, very interesting. We'll see what happens. Now, all of the alerts, the logic alerts and the CTAs, which you see drawn on the screen, they're all created on the 30-minute chart. There's nothing magic about 30 minutes. It's just a time frame I chose years ago, and I've stuck with it. The vertical lines separate today, Monday. Back here's Friday. The horizontal lines are the weekly trading zones. The weekly trading zones are published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change. Now, on Friday, every one of the indices traded below the lowest weekly trading zone, but by close of business Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, every one of them was back above the lowest weekly trading zone. Amazing. Anyway, these are last week's zones. Why? Because the new zones don't come out till Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. So when I put the alerts out Sunday night, I use the previous week's zones. Now tomorrow, when you tune in, you'll see this week's zones on the chart, because every alert I put out today will be based on the new zones. Okay? We had a gap higher open last night. We ran up to the zone. See, when price drops to a zone, we expect support till proven otherwise. When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance till proven otherwise. We'll see how we consolidated at the zone, 6805/06, for a lot of hours last night. And then we hit the long target at 6812. So, I mean, you only need 2 points to get your goal for the day. This candle opened at 6804, but you want to get above the zone. So you'd have probably got in at about 6808. That would have given you 4 points up to the target, but it continued higher and higher. Now, when price runs into resistance, you see right here where blue turned to red? That's market structure. That's why price stopped there. Okay? Resistance will always send the market looking for support. Remember, the pullback to the VVC holds more often than it doesn't. But this was support times 2, because the VVC was just right there at the zone, 6805/06. And we're about to hit the zone from last week, 6841/42, which just so happens to be a zone this week. Sometimes that happens. I think we had 3 or 4 zones from last week that just so happened to be the same this week. That's just how the math works. As you can see, price drops to a zone, support, rallies up, resistance, support, resistance. Now, usually by Monday afternoon, Tuesday, the new zones have like kicked in and, taken over. But the previous week zones are very valuable on a Monday, so don't throw them out. Get your new zones on the chart as soon as they're published, but hang on to the previous week zones for reasons you can see here. Okay? This pullback held at last week's zone. Now we're about to hit it. We're headed for a zone that was a zone last week and also this week. And that's the ES. The Dow. Gap higher open on the Dow. Now, if you got in here at, we'll call it 47,210, it ran up over 100 points. That's $500 per contract traded in the first 30-minute candle. But we hit the zone, resistance, that sends the market looking for support. The pullback held. So we make another try. But this time we run into this resistance. See where blue turned to red? Resistance. That sent us back down. Now this one candle right here might have faked you out, okay? But you shouldn't be getting short there anyway, because you got potential support right here based on market structure, and then right here at the bullish cross. When the blue line gets above the green line, that's called a bullish cross. If it leads to an extended move the first time price revisits that area, it's almost always good support. Okay? Keep that in mind. It's important. You're going to see it happen again and again. You see this high that stuck up right here? See this bearish cross over here? We just spiked that, but it respected the resistance. Okay? Which sent us back to the VVC. And then we had this one candle here, two candles, open and closed below, head fake, but you were at a support area, approaching a support area. Buyers came in early and have now driven us up to last week's zone and the long target for a second time. On the Russell, gap higher open, and at, okay, the London Open is 3 a.m. Eastern. This is the 3:30 30-minute candle, and we hit the zone. Now this one candle right here, it opened at 24.61 and ran to 65. That's 4 points. You only need 2 points to get your goal for the day. It continued higher up to the zone, which we expect to be resistance, and it was. Resistance sent us down to the zone support, which has now sent us back up to the zone resistance. And again, these are the zones that were published not this morning, last Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. That's the carryover power of the zone. Okay, the NQ. This was the original CTA long target I published last night, and then I told you I republished. This is the number I republished. Now, right here, this candle opened at 386 and ran up about 50 points. At $20 a point, that's $1,000 per contract traded in that 130-minute candle. And then we just continued higher. Now, why did price stop climbing? What do you know? A bearish cross from last Thursday capped the market this morning. See, this was Thursday. This is Monday, Friday, Thursday. Bearish cross. Quite an extended move. The first time price revisits that area. Expect resistance. There you go. Resistance sends us back to the BBC. The pullback holds more often than not. And off we go back to challenge that area again. I would say there's probably a decent chance that this time we'll break through this resistance and actually make it up at least to this zone. And then the next area I would be looking at would be right here, where blue turned to red, 25,757. Okay. Crude oil. Friday, resistance at the zone, support at the zone. Here's the opening candle last night. And we ran right up to the long target and the zone resistance. So the market pulls back, makes another go, and again runs into resistance at the zone. When price encounters a weekly trading zone, only one of three things happens. 70% of the time it's this, consolidation. 20% of the time, rejection. 10% of the time, the slice. That's when a 30-minute candle slices through a zone like it's not even there. Oh, I meant to point out, and it's worth it. See, Friday, we got below the lowest weekly zone, but by close of business Friday, look where we were. That's the ES. On the Dow, we got below the lowest weekly zone, but by close of business, we were well above it. The Russell, we got below the lowest weekly zone on Friday, but by close of business, we were well above it. And on the NQ, we got well below the lowest weekly zone, but again, by close of business Friday, we were above it. So crude, this high here, this high from Friday was 60.46. This high, 60.48. Took it out by 2 pennies and then reversed. When you take out a previous high or low by just a little bit, That's a pretty good indication the market's about to head in the other direction, as it did. But look where it found support, at the bullish cross. Blue line gets above the green line, leads to an extended move. First time price revisits the area, good support. What a wonderful tool. Support sends us up to resistance at the weekly zone, which sends us down to support at the weekly zone. And now here we are above the BBC, trying to get back to that long target. One more time. Go. This was the open last night. As you can see on Friday, we were down here. Okay. And we had this wild candle that ran up and ran back. That happened all in 30 minutes. Okay, and then we consolidated. We'll pick up with gold when I come back. I'm going to take a break, and Michael is going to give you a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning, and maybe do a little live trading. I'll come back, finish the recap, and wrap things up with our good word for the day.
Okay, sorry, I was a couple minutes late there.
No problem.
All right.
Okay, it looks good.
All right, here we go. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 10th day of November 2025. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to, go here to mytradingIQ.com, click on the purple button right there. There is no credit card required for the trial. Just click on that purple button and it will bring you to this page right here. Right on this page, just fill it out. Down here at the bottom, make sure you give us TradingView login ID. That is what we need to get your indicators indicating on your desktop. Just give us that TradingView login ID down there and we'll get everything going for you as quickly as we can. Now, we had a pretty good morning today. It was a decent amount of trades, but it wasn't like 70 like we had last week one time. 75 trades last week. But we had a good day overall anyway. Today, as I said, is the 10th day of November 2025. We're 179 ticks on the NQ. 50 on the YM, 45 on gold, and 15 on the ES. That put us at $1,782 on the morning session. Took 7 minutes in one trade to get to $1,200 with 10 contracts on, or 120 with one contract. And we took 41 trades altogether. All right, we had 5 stop outs this morning, so that gave us 87.8% of our trades were break even or better this morning. 87.8% of our trades were break even or better. And that why is that? Okay, I'm just gonna put the formula in there, I guess. Copy. I don't know. Well, the workout of team. So on the month now, oops, let's go back down here. On the month now, we're up $3,880 over 3 trading days, averaging $1,293 per contract per 2-hour trading day. And so far this year, we've hit our goal on 193 days out of 193 days. It's been 35 days now since the last time we did not end positive. I think that's what that is since our last blue day. We've now gone 602 trading days for me, 602 of my trading days since the last time I had a red day. And so on the year, that puts us at $234,692 over 193 trading days, averaging $1,216 per contract per 2-hour trading day. Following the 24/20 blueprint, if you were to quit trading when you get the goal for the day and you were to add 1 contract per month, so far this year, you've only had to work 27.16 hours. You'd be up $183,262. All right, that's averaging $6,745 per hour. That's where we are right now on the year, on the 24/20 blueprint. Okay. All right, let's take just a quick look here and see where things stand. All right, so this is the ES on the daily, and this is doing something, as Dwayne, I'm sure, has told you, something that is completely unusual, but yeah, well, it's happening. It looks like if we end this bar today, if we end this day above the high of this bar right here, of 843.50, which is just right up above us, only a couple points above us. If we end the day up above that, then this is what should happen. Okay, let's just draw this. And this is the time frame. Okay, so this is what should happen. We should make it up to here at this point in time. Let's draw a thing on it. Right here to right. Make that go the other way. Coordinates line. I guess it's array, isn't it? Get rid of it. I'll make it array. Remove that. Let's stick this up here. Right there. Now that one we can change. I think make it only extend in one direction. Maybe we can't. I know there's a way to make it only extend in one direction. But anyway. Let's just remove it and I'll draw a line on it. That'll work. Go here and draw a trend line. This is what we're looking at. Okay. If we close above this level right here today, that's what we're looking at in the near future. And that does not surprise me at all. The Santa Claus rally that we have almost every single year. Almost every single year. This year should be no different, I don't imagine. All right. So when is the date on that? That is November 28th. All right. So that's right around Thanksgiving, right? Let's just check. It is the day after Thanksgiving, I believe. Yeah, that'd be a good time for it. Anyway, that's just what it looks like to me, technically speaking. Now, let me move this and this. Nobody's asked me any questions yet, so that's all good. All right, let's get into what we did this morning. We'll start out with gold and just work our way across. All right. Let's just do this. Control back. Control back. All right, so our first trade in here, this was our first trade of the day right here on gold. We picked up 12 ticks, and that's where we got the gold for the day. The next one was all the way over here. We ended up with a break even on that. And then we picked up 2 there to get us to 14. Then we went from 14 to 24, so we had 10 on the next one. And then went from 24 to 26, and 26 to 27, and then 27 to 37, and then 37 to 42. 42 to 43, and one more in here somewhere. One more, oh, 2 more. All right, 43 to 45, and then 45 to something else. I don't know what we got on that last one. But that's how we ended up the morning session with gold. All right, now more trades. There was one right there. One right there. I think, yeah, that was one right there. That would have not worked out. The other 2 would have so far. That was not one there. Not one there. Not one there. That was one there. Was one there. There was one there. And there. So we had some pretty good trades there during the break. The gold did. It doesn't have one right now. It needs to get into the oversold, so it needs a down close followed by an up close right now. Gold does. Now let me move all this stuff out of the way so I can get to my DOMs in case we do have one. It needed a down close followed by an up close. Okay, so we ended with plus 45 on gold. Now the YM. Let's do control back on the YM. too far there. All right, so on the YM, we started out with a +1. Then we had a +2 to get us to 3. Then we had a +25 to get us to, I don't know if that all came together the right way. But we had a 25 to get us up to 28. Then we went from 28 to 33, and 33 to 35. I think that was right there. And then 35 to 45. And then 45 to 55. And 55 to 65. It says 45 to 55, 55 to 65, and then we stopped out and went back down to 50. And that, I believe, is where we ended the trading. Now, during the break, there was a trade right there that would have kept you in it. That wasn't a trade. Trade. Nope, that wasn't a trade. And that was it. That was it. All right. And the ES now on the ES. Let's see. On the ES, we ended up with with +15. Sorry, we were down on the ES from the very beginning. We were down on the ES, but we managed to get back with some trade. We started out with a break even. Then we're a -10 right there. Then I picked up a 1 tick there to get me to -9. Then 4 ticks there to get me to -5. Then I got 20 ticks there to get to +15. That wasn't a valid trade, really, because it wasn't up to midpoint, but I had the order on it, it filled me. And that was the last thing I did with ES. Now, during the break, it looks like this was a trade right here during the break. That was not. And that was it. That was it. Not a lot during the break. Okay, and now we're on the NQ, where we had the majority of the trades this morning, as we usually do. Control back. Go all the way back to the beginning. All right, so our first trade here on the NQ, we picked up 20 ticks on that one. Then we stopped out, and that put us at -5. Then we picked up 12 there to get us to 7. We had a break even. And 20 to get us to 27. Then 4 to get us to 31. Then we stopped out, and that brought us down to 6. And 4 to get us to 10. And 24 to get us to 34. That's an odd number. But 24 to get us to 34. And then we went from 34 to 78. 78 to 83. We had a break even at 78 to 83. We had another break even. Then we had 45 to 127, and then 45 to 161, and then 45 to 196, and then we stopped out back down to 171, and then from 171 to 175, break even, and right here 175 to 179, and that is what we ended up with the YM, not the YM, the NQ. I don't see any questions coming in, so I'm just going to keep going through right here. Looking for long opportunities, valid long opportunities or valid shorts. This was a valid short. That would have stopped you. That was a valid long. That also would have stopped you. It would have stopped out. None of these trades in here were any good. This one right here was a valid long. That would have been okay. This was a valid long. That would have been really close to stopping out to the tick right there. This was a short right here. That was okay. And these big move up right here, but unfortunately it didn't give you any trade setups at all. Retracement of that big leg up gave you no trade setups. None. And this was a valid trade right there. That would have been okay. This was a valid trade right there. That would have worked out okay. This was a valid trade there. That would have worked out. That was would have been a break-even trade right there. And the next one would have been nothing. And that was it. So we ended up with 179 on the NQ today. So of the markets that we traded, we ended at the high of the day on the gold. We ended at the high of the day on the ES. We ended just a little below the high of the day on the YM. We had to stop out at the end of the YM, so we're up 65 on that. And we ended with 50. On the NQ, our high was 196, and we ended with 166. So it was a pretty good consistent day today. All right. Now, for anybody that's just coming on YouTube, I just want to say this. If you haven't taken a free trial, go to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There's no credit card required for the trial. Just click on that purple button. This page, just fill it out and give us your TradingView login ID. Okay. All right. Now let's get in here and put some trades on if we can. This here, I got to change the bar color. Change the bar color. There, too. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've said or done yet? Bart, did you get the email that I sent to you over the weekend? I have the feeling that you're not getting any emails that are being sent to you. All right, so we're oversold, but we're nowhere near the midpoint. We're oversold here. We are at the midpoint. We just need an up close over here on the NQ. And up close still will work on the NQ. It's got level 4750. It'd be 5250. And up close right now on the NQ. And there it is on the NQ. First trade of the session. And it's got a 25 tick stop on it. So we'll see how things go here. Should have a 25 tick stop. The gold's almost going to trade here too. It's not quite yet, but it's almost. Looks like we're probably going to get hit on this NQ. And we did. All right, that was a valid trade. We ended up with nothing here on the gold. Right, it never gone to the midpoint. The ES right now just needs an up close. The ES is running up to the high of the day. 44.25 right here is the high of the day. If we get an up close on this bar, that'd be a long on the ES. Okay, the gold needs to give a down close and then an up close. All right, on the YM, we have a low here of 33s. We buy in 43 on that, and up close 43, and on the lows 32, 31, 30. Goes any lower, it's not going to be a trade. It's got to close up from here, from 29. It's got to close up at 39. Nope. It's too far away. No trade. Cancel. 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 The ES still hasn't closed up. The gold didn't do a full cycle. So even if the YM closes up right now, it's going to be too low. It's going to miss it by a tick. There's the ES. The NK, the Y was one tick too low right there. See that? ES. Hold it. Put that window on top. A down close followed by an up close. Here we go on the gold. Could have a trade here now. Gold could possibly have a long trade. Needs to close. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, Bart. The gold, the up close right there on gold is a long trade. Here that is. Gonna look in one tick on that. The ES still hasn't got enough to bump the stop. We're out with 1 on the gold, and the ES still hasn't got enough to bump the stop. Okay, so we had 1 tick there, and the ES hasn't gone 4 ticks in profit yet. It'll bump the stop automatically when it does. This was too low to give a trade here. And 1 more tick over there on the ES, and it'll bump it. The yellow has to get to 4 ticks. Okay, it's going to go. I think it's going to go up to here, and then up to here, and then up to there. There it is. It just bumped it. Okay, so I think the ES is going to go all the way up here, actually, all the way up to 68.47. I don't know if it's going to do it all right now, but that's where it's going to go. 68.47 is definitely where it wants to head up to. Yeah, that's where it wants to go. I'll lock in 1 tick. And I'm out with just the 1 tick. I was afraid that was going to happen. All right. 1 tick there. All right, so we end up with nothing there, nothing there, nothing there, and nothing here right at the moment. The NQ could turn into something here. If we get a down close on this spot, put us in the oversold, then we just need it up close. Take the trade. Okay. All right, and the gold just put in a higher swing than the last swing high right there. Nothing. I think that's going to be too far away. Maybe not. No, it'll be okay on the NQ. get an up close here on the NQ, that would be a long trade. And there it is. A long trade on the NQ. That window on top. And so far I have one stop out on the NQ. I have one break even here, and one plus one tick here, plus one tick there, and a stop out on the NQ. So let's see what happens with this one. It seems like we could have a trade here on the YM. You see how the YBR, not the YBR, but the midpoint is green. When it's green, you're looking for an up close above it. Okay, when it's green, you're looking for an up close above it. Okay. And the gold just need to move up. The ES is still going to work its way up to that number that I gave you a few minutes ago. I think it actually did work its way up to that number I gave you a few minutes ago. The NQ might stop us out again. Maybe two stop outs in a row on the NQ. That's no good at all. Okay, the YM's got a trade here though. Hopefully to make up for the NQ a little bit. And the YM needs to go 5 ticks in profit to bump that stop to break even. The gold needs to pull back down and test the midpoint, give an up close. The NQ just flipped the YBR down. So it's probably not good for the YM trade if the indices are all going in the same direction. That would not be a good development for the NQ trade. Almost there. The yellow is going to get 5 ticks. The yellow is 4. There it goes. Okay, so stop to break even on the YM. I'm going to lock in 2 ticks on the YM. The NQ is about to give you a short trade over there. It's a down close. And we're out with a couple of ticks on the YM. Okay, so I got some small wins. These guys. And the NQ's got a trade here. Now this time I'm actually going to lock in some profit on it. There's 8 ticks. Now it'd be nice to get all 45 ticks on this NQ right here. There it is. Okay, we got all 45 on the NQ. So it'd be nice to get that. That would knock out a lot of the sting from those 2 stop outs that we got. So overall, we're up on the session now. That was 45 ticks there. That leaves 5 ticks, or 25 bucks minus 25 bucks there. We got that back on all the other ones. And it's almost got another trade here for a short. Okay, it needs a down close right now on the NQ. Down close on the NQ right now would be another trade. And if we get it, we'll take it. If not, we're going to wrap it up. Okay, we're looking at the NQ right now. We're just looking at the NQ. We need a down close. We got an up close. Now it's too far away. It's not going to turn into anything. Cancel. Okay. So this is what we did in this session. On the NASDAQ, we ended up with -5 overall. On the YM, we had 2. On the gold, we had 1. And on the ES, we had 1, I believe. So we're positive, just $7.50 in this session. Okay, but we're positive overall, considering that we had 2 stop outs on the NQ. I was pretty happy with that. All right, so this is how we ended up the morning session, up $1,782.50 with 1 contract. And another $7 onto that. What is that? 0.1%, right? 10% would be 178. 1% would be 1780. 0.1%. Anyway, If you haven't taken a free trial, go here to mytradingiq.com. Click on the purple button right here. There's no credit card required for the trial. Just click on that purple button. It'll bring you to this registration page. Just fill it out. Once you fill it out, you will be sent everything you need to get into the room in the morning and to get the indicators indicating on your desktop. All right. All right. And with that, I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. If Dwayne is available.
I'm ready. I did get distracted. I put my headset back on just in the nick of time. Okay, recap of the morning session.
Today took 7 minutes and 1 trade to get to $1,200. 10 contracts.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, we're going to pick up where we left off. And I'm going to show you guys this one more time in case any of you missed it. On the ES Friday, we traded below the lowest weekly trading zone. But by close of business on Friday, we were well back above it. On the Dow, same thing. On the Russell, same thing. We dipped below the lowest weekly zone, but by close of business, we were well above it. And same for the NQ. We dipped well below the lowest weekly zone, but by close of business, back above it. When I say once the zones are published, as they were this morning, the new zones at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, they are carved in stone for the entire week. Okay. So we hit all our targets on all the markets, some multiple times, both directions. If you missed the beginning of this broadcast, as soon as I'm finished, you can go to youtube.com/CFRN and you can watch it in its entirety. There are over 2,900 daily episodes archived at youtube.com/CFRN. Okay, we had just gotten to gold. Now, I went through all the markets in granular fashion, so if you missed that and you want to see it, YouTube's your answer. On Friday, gold found support at the weekly zone and resistance at the weekly zone. Now, the reason you're seeing last week's zones is because any alerts that I put out on a Sunday night are based on the previous week's zones because the new zones come out Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. So any alerts that I put out today and for the rest of this week will be based off the new zones that our members got this morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow on this afternoon broadcast, you will see this week's zones on my charts because they're now in effect. Okay, so with gold, here's where we opened last night. The vertical line separates the days. This is today. Back here is Friday. So gold having just an incredible day. This is all-time historic stuff here. Amazing. So how long did it take? By 8 o'clock last night, we had hit the long target. Now, we opened the session last night. Let's see, you would have wanted to wait until you got above this weekly zone. Okay, so let's say you waited for this candle. Okay, at 7 o'clock. It opened at 4019.7. Let's just call it 4020. Up to the target. That's $1,500 per contract traded. I'm not kidding. Now, earlier I explained that only one of three things happens when price encounters a weekly trading zone. 70% of the time it's consolidation, like this. 20% of the time it's rejection, like that. 10% of the time the slice. That's when a 30-minute candle slices through a zone like it's not even there. When that happens, and the move runs out of steam, price will typically retrace back to the zone it sliced through and then continue in the direction of the slice. And when we get to the next zone, what do? We consolidate sideways. And then we get a leg and a retracement. The pullback held. Pullback held. And now here we are. Quite an incredible day for gold, and it's little buddy silver. Last night we opened, come on, we opened at, we'll call it 48.30. 48.30 to 50.30. That's $10,000 per contract traded. That's if you got in at the open and you're still in it. 10 grand. When the price of silver moves $1, like from 48.30 to 49.30, that's 5 grand. Then add on another $1. That's another 5 grand. You're looking at a $10,000 per contract move. Huh. Crazy. So, needless to say, it was a good day for the concierge trade alerts that you see drawn on the screen, but also for the Logic 247 alerts. We are currently in week 380. It's a little over 7 years. Over the last 380 weeks, we have issued over 20,900 individual handcrafted alerts, each one with an entry price, long or short, an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day, then additional targets, and then a final trade to target. The purpose of the logic alerts is to teach you how to read a chart. The fact that you can also trade them, well, that's just a bonus. Now, they come out well ahead of them actually triggering. So you don't have to fall all over your feet to try to get to your computer when you hear the thing go ding. Okay? You got plenty of time. I build in time. Okay? And if you never trade a logic alert, just do this. Use them to learn how to read the chart. Okay? Bring up a logic alert. Bring up a 30-minute chart. Draw a horizontal line at the entry. Then the initial target, draw a horizontal line, but no, that's just based on what it takes to get your goal for the day. But the additional targets, this is where you really start to learn. Draw a horizontal line. Next target, draw a horizontal line. Next target, draw a horizontal line. Okay? And you'll over time, you'll catch the rhythm. You'll go, oh, I see why this was potential resistance, or target number 3. I see why this was potential resistance, or target number 4. Okay? That's the purpose of the logic alert. So again, if you don't trade them, that's fine. But make sure you use them to learn how to trade, because none of us are getting any younger. And last week, our members got to experience what it was like to trade for 3 days without having Michael in their ear. Hopefully that was a tremendous learning experience for you, because it helped you learn what you know and how much you're depending upon what Michael is saying to effectively trade the market. It's a whole different world when you don't have his voice in your ear, right? Okay. Well, although he's younger than I am, and I don't think he has any plans of retiring anytime soon, but there will come a day that he'll decide to enjoy life and you won't have him in your ear. And there'll come a day when I want to enjoy life and there won't be these alerts. So use them now. I mean, we've already issued over 20,900, but I realize some of you are brand new. So you don't have the benefit of all that history. So I'm not planning to go anywhere, but please, while you have the opportunity, because if you don't learn from us how to read a chart, I don't know where you're going to learn, because most places don't teach you. They say some indicators, give you a PDF. They might have a room with some kind of grumpy guru in there, who bites your head off if you question what they say. We're nice people, and nice people attract nice people. So when you become a member, you're going to be hanging out with a whole bunch of believers who trade for a living. Trading can be a lonely, lonely business, but it doesn't have to be. So anyway, right now, since the markets opened last night at 6 p.m. Eastern, I issued 18 alerts last night. At the time Valerie did the recap, 6:30 a.m. Eastern this morning, we were still waiting on the outcome of 9. So that gave us 9 actionable alerts, of which 1 or 11% would have been stopped out. Now, over the last 380 weeks, what we've averaged is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure and the simple process we teach all of our passport holders. So if you're not doing it, man, get with the program. Okay? We don't abandon you once we get your money. Okay? We're in the trenches with you around the clock. Not just 2 hours in the live training room, but we're available via Telegram literally around the clock. So you're not going to find that anywhere else. No place else I know of. I already explained the oddity we have going on here. This is the bearish signal that should have brought lower prices today. So I'm going to stay very suspicious of this until we have a candle that both opens and closes above the BBC. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green, and it's called the BBC. This stands for Bull Bear Cross. Now, if you look over here, we had a candle open and close on March 3rd below the BBC. So we got a leg and a retracement to pull back hill. Leg and a retracement, pull back hill. Leg and a retracement, leg and a retracement, and then finally, on April 25th, we had a candle that both opened and closed above the BBC. So we went from being bearish big picture to bullish big picture. And look, every single pullback held. All those months. We even had this oddity, a 6-day pullback. Every one of those candles is touching the BBC. The 6-day pullback led to an all-time historic high. Then Friday, we had a candle open and close below the BBC. That set the stage for us to have lower prices. I don't know that we've ever had this exact situation. Okay. Keep in mind that red and falling, that's potential resistance. I'm thinking maybe we rally on today, bump our head, right? Okay. Up red and falling. And then when we open tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, market's going to do one of two things. It's going to continue higher, or it's going to honor the signal that was given to us on Friday. Is it possible we just got a bad signal? It's possible. I mean, there's so much going on right now geopolitically, government shutdown, lack of economic data. But we're technical traders. So no matter what's going on in the world fundamentally, a technical trader just, I mean, there's some things you can't ignore, like a Fed announcement. Did you know that's going to affect the market? for the most part, we just ignore the news. We don't trade the news. In fact, we recommend that you not trade the news because it's like gambling. Used to be, back in the day, good news, the market always went up. Bad news, the market always went down. But it's much more complicated now. Sometimes the market will plummet on good news and skyrocket on bad news. Why? Well, in our current scenario, we need the Fed to lower interest rates. So we get a positive jobs report. That means the Fed's less likely to lower rates. So what should be good news gets interpreted as bad news. Because that's really what everybody on Wall Street and just ordinary people that don't even look at the markets, they want the Fed to lower the interest rate so they can afford to buy a house, afford to buy a car, all kinds of things. So we'll keep you posted. We'll walk you through it step by step. That's what we do. Now, if you want to become a member, email Valerie at this address, support@cfrn.net. Just say, Valerie, I would like to become a member. She'll send you the information you need to get signed up. Once you become a member, she'll send you a lot of stuff. Create a folder in your email client. And every email that she sends you, just stuff it in that folder. Because a lot of the stuff, you won't know what it is. You won't know what to do with it. You're going to need it. Otherwise, we wouldn't send it. But you see, this is no get-rich-quick scheme. We're actually going to teach you how to read the charts and teach you how to trade. So as you begin your learning journey, let's say you're a week, 2 weeks in, you're working in the middle of the night or on a weekend or a holiday, and you need something that you've heard us talk about, but you don't know where it is. Yes, you do. It's in that folder you created. Just drag everything Valerie ever sends you into that folder. We've sent out so many of these welcome packages. Trust me, we know everything you need. She sends it all to you at once. She can always resend it if you lose it. But again, if it's the middle of the night or a weekend or a holiday, wouldn't it be better if you just knew it was in that folder somewhere? Okay, I've made my case. Once you're an official member, you're going to get 2 hours of live training every trading day. It's an interactive environment. But what about the other 22 hours of the day? Well, you have access to private one-on-one mentoring, no extra cost. You just got to ask. The strategy you learn, the indicators you own as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Now, we choose to trade futures because there's just a whole list of reasons why we chose futures. But you can use the same strategy, the same methodology, and the exact same indicators to trade stocks, Forex, crypto, ETFs. Doesn't matter. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. Just like I showed you today and I show you every day. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. That's why it's so important you learn how to read the chart, so you know where to expect or anticipate support, where to anticipate resistance. This allows you to put together your trades. Now, out of 20,900 plus alerts, the market did something other than what we thought it was going to do 20% of the time or less. We've had weeks as low as 3%. Okay. So this isn't some promise that you'll never get stopped out again. Far from it. One of the first things you need to learn is there is no such world where that exists. Getting stopped out is as much a part of trading as breathing is a part of life. In the morning in the room when you watch Michael trade and he gets stopped out, he doesn't whine, he doesn't make excuses, he just moves on to the next trade. That's what professional traders do, okay? So, as a passport holder, you'll get the Logic 247 alerts around the clock so you can learn to read the chart. You'll get the concierge trade alerts every evening the second they're published, typically 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open. You get the weekly trading zones every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And every Thursday night, you'll be able to attend the members-only workshop. Last but not least, you get the golden keys that open all the private channels in Telegram. And when you're on the trial, you have access to the public channels. You still get the zones, you still get the CTAs, you still get all the alerts while you're on the trial. There's even a discussion group for you while you're on the trial. So you can actually talk and ask questions of some of our traders. You don't have to believe us, believe them. Because once they were just like you, stumbling around, getting lied to, burned, ripped off, all kinds of nonsense. It's a tough world out there, okay? We don't take your money and then abandon you. No. We're right there with you every single day, every step of the way. Everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. How low? $5,000. $49.97 to be exact. Now, when you look at that through the lens of how much time and treasure you've spent trying to become a trader, it's probably, you can't even compare it, right? I can't tell you how many times I've heard, man, why didn't I meet you guys 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? I don't know. Good news is you found us now. Just email Valerie, support@cfrn.net, and let her know you want to become a member. She'll send you everything you need. Okay, we're going to wrap it up with our good word for today. You have a gift God can use. Romans 12:6. We all have different gifts, each of which came because of the grace God gave us. A pastor writes, God used a seemingly random skill to strategically position David. And the slingshot skill isn't the only example. When David played the harp, it soothed Saul's spirit. That's 1 Samuel 16. That's how David met Jonathan, King Saul's son. That's how he learned the customs of the king's court. Without his musical skills, David wouldn't have even gotten a foot in the door. You never know what skill God will use for his purposes. So don't underestimate the strangest of skills. God can use anything for his purposes if we simply allow ourselves to be used by him. God used Noah's boat building skills, Joseph's ability to interpret dreams, and the Magi's astrological knowledge. No skill is unredeemable or unusable in God's grand scheme. Remember, he's the one that gave you the gift. Here's what you need to see. The greatest Psalms came out of the worst circumstances. The most comforting Psalms were written in the most uncomfortable situations. David is walking through the valley of the shadow of death. David is agonizing over his adulterous affair with Bathsheba. David is a fugitive hiding out in the caves of Adullam. David didn't want to be in any of these situations, but they produce the profound lyrics we find in Psalm 23, Psalm 51, Psalm 142. Maybe you're wrestling with depression or reeling from a mistake that seems unforgivable. Or maybe you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired. So you may not like your present circumstances, but they may just be the key to your character development. And character development is the key to your future. And that's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell. Oh, how many times will it take today? I guess 4. There we go. All right. See y'all tomorrow.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.